So, hello and welcome to the 10th episode of the Boar Hat Tavern Podcast, a podcast all about Seven Deadly Sins Grand Cross. I'm your host, Daz, and I'm joined today by my co hosts of the podcast, Sandyy and Novage. Today is an on week. We got an off week, followed by an on week, followed by an off week, followed by an on week. We've actually got some new characters to talk about. We got the new Mark MK2 Valenti. We've got the new Red Eastin. We've got some other new content too. Sandy's going to be over in the final boss Howzer and Gilthunder, which is going to feel like a breeze after final boss Escanor. And then also a few other things we're going to talk about today. The ReZero collab, which we knew about last week, but now we know more details about how the characters work. We're going to talk about our first impressions of the characters on JP, because it will be coming to global probably within a month or so. We're also going to be talking about some other JP news. The 5-star awakening that just got pushed to JP, because that really is going to affect things on global as well. We're going to talk about all this insight that we have in the banners that are going to be upcoming. Lolly Merlin, the MK2 Valenti banner, as well as the collab banner, and we're going to talk about what we think everyone should do for pulling, like planning their pulls, because I know a lot of people out there have a lot of questions regarding that. And finally, we're going to round off the show with a fun Would You Rather segment, one of the fun games that we always do at the end. But before we get into that, Sandy, I hear you're back at work officially. So good thing, bad thing? How's that going?
It's really fun. I mean, it's overwhelming. I was able to log into my email and, poof, 1,200 emails, and just spent the whole day kind of sifting through that. And, as a theme park, there's a lot of pent up demand just from people. They want to go somewhere, right? And we're worrying now about staffing. How are we going to fill these positions and open up all the rides and the restaurants and give a safe and fun environment? So it's fun. It's a lot of stress going back, but I'm so happy to be doing the podcast, because this is now I can do something I enjoy. Not that I don't enjoy my job. I do. Please don't fire me. But it's nice. It's nice after 5 months to go back and kind of stimulate my mind.
Oh, no doubt. How about you, Novage? Have you been working hard in game or working hard in real life last week?
A little bit of both, actually. That this was push week, so kind of was pushing on the guild boss during the weekdays, and then was prepped for that farm weekend of gold, and I used some hourglasses, and got those last bit of stuff in the shop for the final boss Escanor that I kind of waited till last minute to take care of. But yeah, it was just pretty much just a farm weekend for me. Glad he's gone.
I actually kind of like the farming weekend where we have half stamina for the new gold dungeon in Fort Solgris, because in the morning I just set it on auto, just let it do its thing. It usually stalls somewhere around lunchtime. I come down to my computer, fix BlueStacks, and kind of like keep going again. But it's nice because I'm like, I can take a breather, because I know like the game's doing stuff and I don't have to sit there and like fiddle and micromanage. I just kind of like let it go for the day, which is a good feeling. But getting onto the show, let's talk Valenti, because that's really the big news that came out yesterday, and we all kind of predicted it, that green MK2 Valenti is going to be coming out tomorrow or today or maybe yesterday. I don't know when you're watching or listening to this podcast, but coming out on Tuesday after maintenance. So, Nova, do you want to run us through how she works, what her skills are, that kind of thing before we talk about her?
Yeah, definitely. So her first skill, it's an AoE card that has 3 times crit chance, and the max you could get for a rank 3 is 300% attack. Later, when you kind of hear about her passive, you can kind of see, how they, because some of the other rank 3s are a little bit higher, but I think it's kind of just balancing the unit. Her second one is a single target debuff card. This one's the interesting one. This is the one that kind of like, kind of people kind of tilt their head a little bit. It nullifies all skill effects. So it's basically the blue text that you see on your skill cards. This includes alts. So you're talking like flood damage from Escanor, death damage from Escanor's alts. However, it doesn't affect, it's not including the stance and recover on the skills. So it lasts for 1.5 turns, basically. And that's a single target debuff. Her ult is different from the ones that you guys have already used to for the last two Valentis. This one, she increases her damage dealt by 50% and decreases damage taken for 50% for 3 turns. It's an AoE ult, and if you max that out, it could cap at about 525% of her attack. Now, her passive is basically increases her pierce rate and crit damage by the value of 50% of her crit resistance. So you kind of sit there and think about it for a second. It's like a very different set you would build for any of the characters in the game. So taking, the first initial thought is like, wow, if I take her to geared, or if I'm taking her anywhere else, probably an attack crit resistant gear. If you max out her rolls, you could have like well over 100% pierce and crit damage. Unfortunately, you probably need to pair her up with someone that can increase her crit chances, because she does crit very very lowly in a sense. What are your thoughts on those crit resistant gears?
Well, I think it's neat that we can actually pull out different gear sets that we've never had use for, and I'm interested to see if Numberable's going to keep this kind of trend going. Like, it'd be neat to have to use actually like maybe lifesteal gear, right? The vampire gear or whatever it's called, right? And some of the other ones that I don't even know what they do, just because you're always like, okay, well, HP defense or attack defense or attack crit or triple crit if you're crazy, right? But like crit resistance, I've started making sure now that whenever I get gear from gear draws or whatever, that I do keep like the best one that I get for each slot for each type of gear now. So now I've got some crit resistance gear that has good base stats that I'm just saving, for that rainy day in case I do get maybe MK2 Valenti. But yeah, I think it's interesting change. It makes it so gear's a little bit less reusable and it needs to be a bit more hyper focused. But hey, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. What do you think, Sandy?
I'm a little low on resources, so she seems like a really fun unit for PvP. Definitely on the geared side. I don't know if she'll be, unless you're gonna 6/6 her, max out her cosmetics, then you can take her in ungeared. But I do see that, yeah, it's fun because sometimes you get like that perfect roll on crit resistance and you're like, should I keep this? But you're like, no, I need to get all attack or all crit damage for Derry. So it's nice that they're trying to pull out these characters so we can continue to farm those different equipment and finally get to see, right, Daz, like you said, what are these rolls for?
You know that you're going to start hitting that reroll button on the stats and you're just going to get like perfect defense rolls. And you're like, damn it. The one time you don't actually want it, it's just the way that things work, right? Like you always get the perfect crit resistance rolls when you don't need them, but I don't know, fingers crossed. Yeah. There's so much cool about the design of Valenti. One of the things that sucks about her is that you need completely new cosmetics because she doesn't share cosmetics with the original Valentis that we have. So you will have to put extra investment into her, which is unfortunate. Yeah, it's really unfortunate, but hey, what can you do? But also like the alt, it's pretty neat too, because you get to increase your damage by 50%. The multiplier, like it might seem low, like 525, which isn't actually that low for an AoE alt, but you're doing 50% more damage too, and it does proc before the actual alt hits. So you get that, plus she becomes even more tanky too with all this crit resistance. She's hard to crit. But anyways, I guess like I'm getting kind of like distracted here. Novage was asking about like what I think about I guess you asked him about the gear. One thing I was going to say was that the AoE Sever card I think is kind of cool too, because she gets a lot of high crit damage from her passive too. So getting that AoE Sever card with 3 times crit chance will actually make her reliably crit. And because she gets high crit damage if you do put on crit resistance gear, I think, well, I don't think I know, she can put out a lot of damage similar to the Sariels of the world.
So one of the next question actually I wanted to go into after we talked about the gear for her, because I know that alone was definitely worth the discussion. This question is targeted towards Sandy actually, because I know Sandy's been doing a lot of different PvP ever since she talked to our guest star Kirito last week. she's been just running different meta teams or different off meta teams, and she's been kind of sending out messages in our Discord asking people to fight her in friendly matches. So, I mean, for you, Sandy, you know, that debuff skill with basically, you know, limiting the extra effects on the cards, like no death damage, no flood damage, you know, no secret technique from last thing, you know, all that stuff. You know, how do you think that you're gonna, in a sense, what are you gonna try out when you come across this?
Yeah, I mean, like that's gonna make it interesting because it, like any character, if you don't fight them often on the field, you're not gonna know how to fight them. And you know, I've been fighting with Nanashi. I got him 6 out of 6 yesterday, and he's an unknown, so I kind of just invested in him because I wanted to do some type of showcase. But yeah, you know, I don't know how I'm gonna go against him. But you know, Sariel, Escanor, and Lost Vein can't crit Valenti, so who do I bring to counter her? Who should I bring, Novage?
You know, if you're going to be going against her, I mean, I would say red units. Obviously, she is in a sense in ungeared. I think that she doesn't shine as much as she does in geared PvP because you have the ability to kind of push her limits with, you know, maxing out rolls if you can afford it. But if you're doing ungeared, I think definitely a red units would be able to kind of do some decent damage on her. So you got Sario. He definitely would probably be able to do some damage to her.
It sounds like Baby Merlin hits her and almost makes her fall off the meta pretty quickly, which is one of the concerns I'd have, and probably one of the reasons, a little spoiler alert, that I'm not going to pull on the banner, is that she does seem to fall off pretty quickly. I mean, she's almost seems like she was made as a counter to Escanor. However, again, like if there's too many counters to MK2 Valenti around, you just can't run her reliably. And it does sound like Baby Merlin will be around quite a bit, especially with the ReZero collab and potentially unknown teams becoming more of a thing. I don't think MK2 Valenti actually does perform very well in those situations. All right, so I guess I was going to ask if you guys are going to pull on it, but maybe we'll save that for a later discussion once we talk about a couple of the other topics we want to talk about, like the ReZero collab and Red Eastin. But MK2 Valenti, I think, is the shining star on this banner. The supporting cast, however, is still there, and that's Red Eastin. I think Red Eastin, I mean, I guess you can make your own judgment, but I don't think she really has a place in the current meta. I'll go over her skills and everything here, and we'll discuss that in a second. Her first skill is called Water Cannon. It's a single target attack card. It's got damage multipliers of 120, 300, and 450% on gold. And it's very similar to the Green Merlin alt deplete card. It depletes 1 alt orb on bronze and silver and 3 orbs on gold. I'm sure almost everyone's probably familiar with how Green Merlin's card works. It's a very strong skill. The only problem is I feel like her second skill doesn't bring enough to the table to make her that useful. It's called Bubble Shower. It's an AoE buff card. So it actually provides a cleanse on bronze. Silver increases defense-related stats by 50% for 3 turns, and gold increases defense-related stats by 80% and gives debuff immunity, which can be good, but it's very similar to the red SSR Liz's ability, and it's very niche. Like you could use it on one of the guild bosses, I think, to get some scoring in there. But in terms of a damage reduction card, I feel like it doesn't do enough to make it worth it. I think just having a heal maybe would have been straight up better. But anyways, so her ultimate is called Trist Fin. I'm probably not pronouncing that right. It's the same ultimate that all the other Eastins have. It's spike AoE damage, which is 2 times crit damage to all characters. So 525% attack multiplier is the highest you can get there. So it hits pretty hard, especially if it crits. But she doesn't have extremely high crit chance, so that's fairly rare. Her passive, and this is what I guess should make her unique and maybe makes her more useful in the future. She decreases damage that allies take from single target attacks. It's only single target attacks, not ultra AoEs, by 6% for each catastrophe, and that's the 7 catastrophes. 7? I think there's 7 catastrophes. Roxy, Mono, Lilia, Eastin, Camilla, Shin, and Valenti. I don't think I'm mixing any. So if you have any in the team or in your sub slot, for each of them you have there, you're going to take 6%. All your characters will take 6% less damage for each one that you have. So and it works in the sub slot too, and includes the characters in the sub slot. So maximum 24% damage reduction for single target attacks. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I think everyone thinks she's kind of like the troll unit here. Sandy, do you think she's gonna have a place maybe down the road, maybe now? Do you think that there's any sort of redeeming qualities to this poor red Eastin?
No, I feel like just like they're recycling a lot of things, this Eastin is just not worth it. You know, in my opinion, she has a lot of the same cards that other units that, you know, a lot of us may already have. I would say maybe the only thing that's really good about her is if you don't have all of her cosmetics, you know, getting another UR cosmetic from URing that specific character if you happen to get her, but I don't think she's gonna last really long.
And I guess one of the big problems is there's no real catastrophe team that you can put together to make use of her passive. And even if there was, like 24% damage reduction on AoE cards, or sorry, on single target cards is nice, but I feel like it should have just been straight up 24% less damage altogether to make it a bit more powerful. Novage, do you think we might be able to find a use for, like, if they made the catastrophes get a little stronger down the road?
I would say as I guess more of them come out, like Sandy says, more of their cosmetics are kind of popping up, either in an event or another unit that drops. And, you know, when they first were released, they don't have the full on set of weapons or, you know, the head cosmetic or, you know, the body. But if you have now 5 items now and you can actually max them up to max if you have the resources. But I mean, going all out still right now, I don't think there's really a combination of those 7 units to really kind of make something that would kind of, I guess, would throw people off enough. But it'd be nice, you know, I mean, they started with the new guild boss of, you know, eliminating certain races. Maybe down the road, there'll be other events where, you know, these units are buffed for a particular reason. And that's where you start using this Eastin to run your team for a sense. But right now, I mean, again, spoiler alert, may not pull because of, these units are kind of a hybrid of units that I already have if I need them for a certain situation other than her passive.
That's a good point. Like, a lot of these characters, they're trying to find niche roles for them in PvE content occasionally, be it final bosses or what have you. But yeah, like if you wanted to use her in PvP, it's really hard to take her over people that provide similar utility. Like, would you rather have her or would you rather have Green Merlin? Green Merlin gives everybody an extra orb to start. She has the shield, which is, you know, similar to damage reduction that you'd get from her defense related stats buff, and she's got the alt deplete, right? Or even Red Zeldris too. Red Zeldris boosts everyone's stats depending on how many commandments you have, so you're making them essentially stronger, which I guess you could think of as damage mitigation, but also you attack harder, and then he's also got the alt deplete as well. So I feel like she wouldn't outclass those units in very many situations. So in my books, that's not really a win for this character, and makes her a little bit tougher to justify. All right, well, those are the new characters. There was something else announced too. Brawl, the auto PvP content that we have, that everyone probably goes in and, you know, does every day, so they get their little chest reward. They're changing it a little bit so you can give your defense teams a little bit more direction, and you can kind of fiddle with the settings, which is cool. I mean, a lot of people have asked for this kind of thing in the past, to make sure that their defense teams can play more optimally against opponents, or I guess attacking teams as well. And then one of these things about this AI or sorry, user interface, it seems like you can save your settings and you can send them to other people, because there's like a load and a share button as well. We're not 100% confirmed on what the interface is going to be like, but from the screenshots they shared, it looks like you're going to be able to like share out your settings and give them to maybe other friends or guildmates or whatever. Brawl is, for a lot of people, I mean, for me anyways, I don't really like the content. I feel like it's very like, oh, I got to do my Brawl today, you know, and try and get the rewards. I do it because I need to get the rewards, but other than that, I don't really enjoy the content. And to me, I'm looking at this and be like, oh, it's going to make it even more complicated. I guess maybe it's just like you set it up and you kind of do it once and it's fine, and maybe you can enhance your teams a little bit. But to me, it just seems like more hassle than it's worth. I guess it's a case of you gotta be careful what you wish for, because in this case, Netmarble gave it to us. But I don't know what are your guys' thoughts on this change? Like, I'm not a fan, but I imagine a lot of people are. Do you guys like this? Sandy's shaking her head no. How about you, Novage?
Yeah.
I actually haven't changed my team since the first day it came out. I just go in, pick up my reward, and just play within the bracket just enough to do the dailies and just stay in that top, top 2,000 people. You're right. There's not enough other than the daily reward or the coins from the reset that you really get from it. It'd be nice if they did some type of like, season to it, to where it kind of you start back at the bottom, you have to push yourself way back up, and you probably have a little bit more involvement in it, maybe different tier brackets that you get rewards, kind of like how we have for both of the PvP brackets of ungeared and geared. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be gems like the other ones, but it could be some other way. But
I think your first statement kind of hit the nail on the head with one of the problems with Brawl. You haven't set your team since the thing started, like however many months ago that was. To me, that just kind of reiterates the fact that it's a very cumbersome process. You've got to set all your gear around 3 different teams. You're limited to only using one type of character and the associations or whatnot too. So it's just, it takes like a solid, I'd say, hour or more to like optimize all your stuff. And like, who wants to do that when it's like an autoing PvP content that like you're not really engaged in, right? I mean, I guess, yeah, more control is better, and maybe that's better at the end of the day, but I don't feel like we really need it. Like you're saying yourself too. You just go in, you collect your rewards, and you get out. There's no real need to push high in this content unless you're maybe going for like your top 100 or whatever on a daily basis, but most people aren't. So it just doesn't seem like that great of a necessary of a change. There's a lot of other things in the game that I would have rather than worked on than this, but hey, I guess can't really complain. How about you, Sandy?
Yeah, it's cumbersome, like you said, but I do find what's intriguing is, will they release this capability for the folks who actually have, the chance to experience Guild Wars? Is that, our defense teams rely on the AI. So if they take this capability and apply it to Guild Wars, because we're seeing a lot of more cheese teams out there that can just take out teams, I really think this tool being given to Guild Wars for our defense teams would definitely make it a little bit more fun, instead of bringing in, your glue eater teams or your Fraudrins. Maybe you can optimize them to attack differently.
That's a really good point too. And Guild Wars is coming to everyone in the form of ungeared Gear Wars soon, so this may be a stepping stone towards that, and maybe this is just their way of fiddling with the interface to kind of optimize it for when that content releases. So yeah, I guess that actually gets me a little bit more excited about this, because maybe they're like, you know what, we'll let some people test it in Brawl, so when we actually release it for content where people care more, it'll be a bit more refined. So, but let's not talk about this one too much longer, because I feel like we've already beat it to death with a stick. Let's go on to the next really exciting piece of news, to be honest with you, the ReZero collab. We knew this was coming last week on the show, and we talked about a very very briefly, but now we know more details about the characters and everything, which gets everyone really excited. And I know Sandy wanted to run through this. So Sandy, why don't you take us through what we can expect from the ReZero collab and the characters we're coming out with? And again, we're not going to go into huge detail on these characters. This is just like a brief first impressions type thing.
Yeah, so first impressions, for diehard ReZero fans, I think this collab works well in our universe, the 7DS universe versus that, Stranger Things collab that was kind of circulating out there. One of the free units that we're actually going to get is Ram. That's the red hair maid if you haven't seen the anime. But what's interesting about her is that her passive increases unknown allies' basic stats by 20%. And if you've already seen, the new guild boss, you need to be using unknown characters or fairies, giants, all those types of things. And it seems, keep this in mind, because it seems all these characters were made for each other because they're all unknowns. So she has one attack that's just like this Liz single target stun, and then Ludo AoE rupture, right? And her AoE attack related stats debuff with a low damage multiplier. So, she's pretty good. She's only good there for her passive. She's really cool though. And then next you have Rem. So there we had Ram, now it's Rem. And she's basically a self-buffing amplify unit, right? It's an AoE ultimate move damage reduction. And again, passive. Her passive here applies stacks of 5% attack related stats buff when she uses or merges skills up to 5 times. That's pretty amazing. And she has the same ult as Blue King's Shatter, where it ignores the resistance. So Rem is another really cool unit if you can use her correctly with her passive. Then we have Amelia, which is a freeze unit with basically Gilthunder's pumpkin bombs and Lost Veins ult. Okay, that's who she is. She's like a glorified Lost Vein. So if you don't have your Lost Vein, high ult, she might be the unit you want to 6/6. What's cool about her is that she freezes units that attack her twice in a turn. And she also cleanses everybody, takes off all those debuffs. So she's pretty fun. Then there's Beatrice. She's okay. I mean, if you pull her, the banner itself has really bad rates. So I'm sure if I do pull on this banner, I'm probably going to get Beatrice. She's a life-stealing healer. Okay, that's what we're going to call her. She heals herself through lifesteal and her unknown allies for a portion of the damage that she heals herself. And then she's like a glorified Liz Hawk too. So she gets HP related stats boost for each unknown ally. And that's basically all of the other characters above, or, you've got the Gilthunders, the Merlins out there who are also unknown. So it'd be fun to place them in different teams, but honestly, I'm aiming for, Rem and Amelia. I will be pulling on this banner. What about you, Des?
Well, I like a lot of these characters. I think we should maybe even just talk about each one and maybe discuss them individually a little bit, because I think all of them, well, 3 out of 4 maybe, are strong in their own rights in their own situations. Like Ram, the free unit, for instance, too, like 20% additional passive basic stats to all unknown allies. Like this ReZero collab has made it possible to have an unknown character meta, right? We've got Baby Merlin, presumably before the ReZero collab, maybe after, but either way, like within a short time frame before or after this one. So she can work into this. You can have your red Gilthunder too, and the other collab units, they're all unknowns. So a lot of strong characters you can put together here. Not to mention, she's not just like a passive stick. She's also got like that Liz stun, like you said before, and then the Ludo AoE rupture card. She can almost counter Goddess Liz in a lot of ways, stunning her, rupturing against the shield to break the shield down. I'm pretty excited just to even get the free unit, let alone the rest of them too. I feel like she's really going to be a staple in this potential these unknown teams that we're going to see cropping up too. I don't know. I'm excited for them all. Like I want to say I'm really excited for Ram, but I'm really excited for Ram Amelia and Amelia too. But like, do you guys see this unknown meta becoming a thing? Like Ram, everyone's gonna have her, right? So it makes it a lot more accessible. And then even if you don't pull on this banner, you've got her. You know, maybe you'll have Merlin. Maybe everyone's got Gothers and such too. So the opportunity's there.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like these characters are gonna be released. I'm hoping around the same time that they release the season 4 Knighthood boss, because unknown units, they're gonna be really broken in the Knighthood if they're gonna be insanely buffed, right? And especially for the hard to play community where you want to have that high score. There's videos out there that it's just they're going to do a lot of damage. And if you put them all together in a team, it's just crazy. But I also, for the free to play community, releasing Baby Merlin and then releasing these OP, on their own units, it's going to be hard. I mean, I'm going to have to throw some dollars at it.
Yeah, and like there's other great units here too, other than just Ram. Like you said, like Rem, she's probably gonna be great on that guild boss because she does crazy damage. Well, I think the season 4 guild boss has problems if you've got buffs on you, so maybe Ram wouldn't work because she's a self-buffing amplify unit. But in PvP, say Ram's gonna be Rem, the blue-haired one. It can be potentially a monster. She hits really hard with her little wrecking ball that she spins around. She's like Red Escanor, but on steroids, because she can do her own buffs to herself. She doesn't rely on your Red Arthurs of the world. And her ultimate hits really hard too. Like she seems like such a solid unit. But like Amelia, I think is like really the one that is amazing. I think that the problem with her though is because she's got the Lost Vein ult, you really have to wail out hard if you want to get like a 6/6 Amelia or a high ult level Amelia. And I feel like she becomes a lot more useful if you do have her at high ult level. But like she's got quite the control kit. She's got the freeze. She's got the pumpkin bombs, just a strong card too. And the Lost Vein Meliodas ult. Oh man, what I wouldn't give for a 6/6 Amelia. Well, I know what I wouldn't give. I wouldn't give like 4,000 gems to 6/6 her, which is probably what's going to be required. But still, I'd sell my kidney to get a 6/6 Amelia, I think, at this point. But yeah, I don't know. I'm pretty stoked for the ReZero collab, and again, spoiler alert, I'm probably gonna be pulling on this. Maybe not super hard, but like hard enough, hopefully, to get at least a couple of the units. Novage, like, what do you think about this? Beatrice is your favorite one on the banner? It's Beatrice, isn't it?
I think it's kind of hard to talk about each of these individually for like such a long time, right? We've all started talking about it, but then we jumped to one of the other ones. I really think it's because they're like a package, like Ram makes Ram so much better, and it's like they're all unknown, so you pair some more unknowns in there. And that I think that's the challenge for the community, knowing that that Baby Merlin's coming eventually at some point, and this collab is also coming at some point, and trying to save your gems for these, especially this one. They had really low rates for each of these characters, and so I mean, if you're to throw so much gems to kind of get the alt level high enough to kind of play around with it in PvP, but already hearing like what Sandy's saying, stories of knighthood bosses with these characters taking them on, it's like, oh wow, they're scoring higher than the other units before their release. So it's like, is going to be almost like a necessity for people that are competitive in knighthood boss scores? And it's like, if you don't pull, I mean, none of the other collabs ever come back. So it's like, will you be kicking yourself later down the road if you don't pull and you don't get Ram or you don't get Beatrice, because they become so critical unit for certain content. I mean, looking back at the earlier collabs, like the Slime collab or Attack on Titan collab, I think those characters, they weren't, I would say that you have to have this unit to do like really high on certain things. But I mean, if you saw it with, the King of Fighters ones, Keo does some interesting strats. I mean, I've seen like Sandy's video using him on the Knighthood boss. It's almost became like, hey, if you want to hit high score, you need to have this guy. Um, it's a tough choice. So many units on this banner.
And just to put in perspective too, like Novage said, the rates are low here and they're pretty rough. Just to put in perspective, it's the same percentage chance of pulling like an Assault Meliodas, say if you're trying to target one single unit. Assault Meliodas on his banner is 0.25%. There's no rate up or anything. To pull a specific zero collab unit, it's 0.25% as well. And the banner doesn't get a 4% rate up. So every SSR you pull on this, it's got a 1 in 3 chance of being a collab unit, which kind of sucks. Like if you want to get a certain character, I guess you do have, it is a step up banner, so you can get them, I think, at the 600 gem mark. So the least there is that. But getting them high alt level, you can't rely at all on pulling these characters without the guaranteed ones. It probably will take you a couple rotations of probably 1,200 gems to get, I'd say, to get all 4. Would be my guess. I haven't done the math or anything there, and that's quite a lot of resources to expend on non-festival banners, especially when it doesn't look like we're going to get very good supporting units on this collab banner. The other ones aren't going to be the greatest, but hey, I don't know. Like Novage said, I think I'm going to be pulling on this just purely because it seems like they're going to be fairly good on the new Knighthood bots that'll be coming out pretty soon. The other thing that JP just got as well, which is crazy, is 5-star awakening. So 5-star super awakening, I guess I should clarify. And also level 90 apparently is around the corner. So we've been sitting on 4-star super awaken level 80 for a while now. So I guess this was something that we knew would be coming soon. They are going to give out, fingers crossed, if they go along with the JP kind of schedule, they're going to give us a lot of Super Awakening coins. I think JP got 100 Super Awakening coins when this was launched, just so that you had some coin reserves to 5-star Super Awaken some of your kind of key units. But one really important thing to note, which I thought was really interesting, it seems like Netmarble used this opportunity to kind of rebalance characters. Some characters have much superior 5-star awakening stats compared to others, which can definitely shake up a lot of things. One thing that I know, I saw like a list of the highest CCs in the game post 5-star Super Awakening. You got like Blue Dairy Aries up there, and MK2 Valenti is like number 2 or number 3, I think, in the game post 5-star Awakening. So it does seem like they're trying to like boost maybe certain characters that may have fallen off the meta and trying to bring them back in, which I thought was kind of cool. But a little pro tip, save those Super Awakening coins or your Platinum coins to make sure you've got plenty in supply, because 5-star Awakening is probably dropping within about a month. I wouldn't be surprised if it comes sooner rather than later. Sandy, have you started saving as soon as you heard this? That's what I started doing, saving those Super Awakening coins.
I heard too late. I started using them for my Nanashi. So I had like 32. I haven't finished the Tower of Trials yet. So once I do that, maybe I'll get some. But, the Knighthood boss definitely gives me those Awakening Stones. And now I know I got to save them.
So let's talk. Now we've kind of gone over the new banners and everything that are coming out, and we've touched on a little bit about Lolly Merlin because we know that she's coming out soon too. I think one of the biggest things a lot of people are thinking about, they can see the progression for the next 3 presumed banners. Assuming in order, they're going to be MK2 Valenti, which we all know about. That's next one. Then it's probably going to be Festival Merlin, and then the ReZero collab will likely be after that. That's the general consensus. I mean, the ReZero collab and Lolly Merlin might be switched, but we've got those 3 banners coming up, and it has the potential to shake up a lot of things. So I know a lot of people are looking for advice on where they should focus their gem spend, because if you tried pulling all 3 of these, you're either a pretty big whale or you've got a huge gem reserve in supply in your back pocket, which not many people do. So let's go through each of us. Let's see what everyone's thinking here. Novage, like what's your plan for the next few banners? Like, are you skipping, pulling? What are you thinking here?
I do like to collect units if I can. I'm not too sure who are the other units on the banner for Valenti and Eastin. I don't plan to pull on it, and may throw some gems at it, but I wouldn't throw very much at it. I'm still debating on that one. I mean, if there's something enticing that I could possibly pull other than them on that banner, I may pull on it. But I think I'm already set on trying to save for the banners that are coming down the road.
So you'd be pulling on Festival Merlin and ReZero then? Like, are you hard pulling, soft pulling? Where are you falling on that spectrum?
Depending on which one comes first, but I think the collab, because you won't get much opportunity to pull for those units again. That's probably the number one banner that I'm personally going to pull on as a priority. Baby Merlin is a festival unit, so festival coins, if you got LV coins stocked up, or Festival King, or any of the other ones, or if you have dupes of the one, you could apply them to that when she's in the coin shop, which she wouldn't be right away. She'll be in the next time festival unit comes around. So I mean, definitely the ReZero collab is my top priority for saving right now. I
kind of see this is going to be a boring conversation, because I feel like we all three might have the same opinion about it. But Sandy, are you doing the same thing as Novage? Because I think I'm pretty much on the same boat as he is.
Yeah, I am. I'm waiting for, the first of the month so I can rebuy those gem packages and then save up so I have it plentiful in my pockets for Baby Merlin and ReZero. So I think I'll be pulling more on the Baby Merlin, but then I have to relook at my finances, because that's just the way my bank account works. But definitely, because I focus so hard on knighthood bosses, I really think that I'm going to go toward the collab banner more.
Yeah, I spend a very small amount of money on this game, so I think I'm hopefully going to have enough to get one rotation on Merlin. I'm skipping the MK2 Valenti banner completely, and then whatever I've got around, I'm going to be spending on the collab banner, unless some new shiny units are coming out that we don't know about yet, that we find out about in the next few weeks. But I think that's my plan. This just want to make this absolutely clear. Like, MK2 Valenti is a really great unit, and it seems like 5-star Waking may actually bring her up a little bit again. She doesn't sound like she performs very well against your Baby Merlin unknown teams out there. However, she does do crazy damage. She's got one of the highest CCs in the game. I don't think she's a bad unit to invest in. It's just unfortunate on the timing of it with the other banners coming out when we're planning out what we're going to be pulling on. I think that's just not where we want to use our gems, which are very, very precious resources. I think if you're free to play and you're looking at this stuff and you're like, what should I do here? I think it's even safe to say you can skip all of these banners, especially if you already have some meta units. Like, Escanor is not going anywhere. He'll still be a pretty strong unit. Goddess Liz is still a pretty strong unit. I know a lot of people have both of those, maybe pulled pretty hard in the past. Salt Meliodas teams will still be around and be able to do okay. You don't have to get this unknown meta, at least not in my opinion, and watch me eat my words and people rage at us in the comments for us saying this kind of thing. But I don't think there's anything wrong with skipping. And when you're a free to play player, it's really important to choose your battles wisely. And if you're looking to get an unknown race team, you'll likely need to get Lolly Merlin. And I mean, you do get Remoram, whatever the red hair one is, for free. But if you want to get into the collab units, it's going to cost you a lot of gems. So you just got to be a little bit conscious, I guess, of what you're doing there. But anyhow, that's our advice and our plans. Take them with a grain of salt. Do with them what you will, but that's what we're going to be doing. Next on the list, though, we're going to be talking about the hangover from the Escanor final boss is hopefully over. And as a little hangover cure, we've got an easier final boss in Howzer / Gilthunder. I think I wrote Gother in the notes, but I think it's Howzer / Gilthunder. Sandy, you want to take us through, as the guild boss queen, how we can demolish these two fools?
There's 3. There's Grimoire too.
Oh yeah, Grimoire.
Yeah, don't forget about him. He's annoying as well. But it's gonna be a really nice breather after final boss Escanor. This final boss is gonna be super, super easy. I mean, I had a viewer who said they had to play it with the sound off because Escanor laughing at him was just getting too much. So I think this is a well-needed final boss, but you know, Seaton recently did a video talking about the update, and he mentions that it's so easy, he didn't even do a video for it in JP. So, what I found hilarious that he said, and the preview that we actually got, he said it looks like Netmarble took 10 minutes to make this final boss team. And it really does look like it because there's nothing special. They're using recycled skins from the ones that we already have in the game, you know, where you can get it from different avenues versus trying to grind this final boss. But you know, if you're aiming for that top 5, top 15%, you know, high damage on kill gives a lot of points for you know, the final boss Howzer, Gilthunder, and Grimoire, right? So you're looking at, again, PvE content. We have that Dairy Queen coming in. Throw in your red or green Gother, plus a God Liz, or any stance removal unit, because stance removal units will give a lot of points because you get like 25 for removing each stance. And I think it's the fairy, what's her name? Gerard? Okay, don't don't crucify me on that. But she does the AoE stance cancel. So if you have her, unfortunately I don't, and there's no way I can pull for her. So bring her in. And then your sub unit using a red Zeldris for his commandment of the attack related stats to Dairy, buffing her, or use red SR Jericho. You know, you just want high attack because again, high damage on kill gives you a lot of points. And then going back, stance cancel skills gives points, and all 3 of those units, the Howzer, Gilthunder, and Grimoire, they all use their silly little stances. But it's not going to be annoying, and it's not going to be as hard as final boss Escanor is. And sayonara to him, because I don't want him back for a very, very long time.
By the time he does come back, you know, there'll be a unit that just like one-shots him super easily, and it'll be much easier content.
Yeah, maybe the unknown team, right?
Yeah. So you're telling me that they don't get invulnerable below 30% HP or anything like that? Nothing crazy here, Sandy? It's just simple, straightforward, big daddy damage and slap them to hell?
Yep. That's it. Go in there with your best characters, your best equipment, and you could just farm this. It's not even worth it for Seaton, the man who makes like 4 videos like a day. So I don't think it's worth it.
Oh, man. I know they didn't put a lot of time and effort into this, but is it ever well received by me, at least? I'm happy that we don't have to have like another try hard, think hard boss. So this one's a nice one, maybe just to hit the auto button or just kind of go in autopilot mode in your head, at least. So we've got our featured comment. Sandy, you've always been doing those. You want to keep it up and do it this week as well?
Yes, so our featured comment. It seems like a lot of our comments, each show, we try to feature one comment wherever you guys leave it for us. Wherever you guys find us, whether it's on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, Reddit, Discord even. We got this one from YouTube. It's from Chad Fijihara, and he said, I really like how your show is progressing, and all 3 hosts are getting more comfortable with the format. Sandy's Final Boss Escanor strat helped me a lot too. Also, because of this show, I decided to dip into the 7-in-1 banner and managed to pull 3 characters I really wanted, including Blue Dairy. Hey, good for you. Good for you, Chad, because she's OP with the 5-star awakening when it comes. And he says, I can't run Hell Demons, but I'm happy to spend 60 gems on her outfit. I've also cleaned out all of my platinum coins by upgrading every alt I could, quote, except the single festival coin I'm saving until I get enough to upgrade either Goddess Liz or Zawan. Also, the in-game sound quiz is my absolute favorite of the ones you all play. Keep up the good work. Hey, thank you so much, Chad. We appreciate it.
Love the taps on the back. Thanks everybody for all the very supportive comments. It's always very much appreciated. I'd really like comments about the games that we do at the end too, because we actually don't get a lot of feedback. I'm not sure if everyone just kind of tunes us out once it gets to the game segment, which is ironically next. But it's nice to know what people like and what they don't like, and maybe even game suggestions too, because we run out of ideas. We're basically recycling the same ones over and over again. And on that note, we're going to be doing a Would You Rather segment for the fun little game segment at the end. For those of you who haven't seen it before or don't know what Would You Rather is, it's a very common game that a lot of kids play. You ask a question, would you rather, and you give two options, and the people have to pick, two maybe unpleasant or two conflicting from the two conflicting options to tell us why they think it's the best one. So, with that being said, Novage and Sandy, I know you've been dying to play this segment here. So we'll start off with the first Would You Rather question. Sandy, we'll start with you on this one. Would you rather take one single punch from the one Escanor, like take as in receive it, or 50 combo punches from Derriere?
Oh, man. Which punch from Escanor? His flood or his...
I don't know. This isn't even necessarily like in-game moves. It's just the one Escanor, like the hulking guy that he is. Shirtless, might I add, to, which I know you'd probably enjoy. So maybe it's the one Escanor?
If I had to choose one or the other, you know what? I'm not going to let no man beat me. So I will take it from Dairy Queen. I will take those 50 punches. And as long as she doesn't buff herself, like nullify that, I'm good.
So the caveat is that she's got no passive stacks when she does this. Okay. How about you, Novage? One Escanor, single punch, or 50 punches from Dairy?
50 punches from Dairy does not look very, very nice on the receiving end. So especially the look after. I would probably, I'd go the one.
Either way, you're kind of screwed, right?
Yeah, I know. It's like which one of the two of the ones that they're about equally going to destroy you, but
just how the manner in which you want to be destroyed. Okay, next question. We'll start with Novage. Would you rather be Oslo or Hawk?
Oh, I would totally want to be Oslo. He's able to teleport and, endless, whatever the black hole that he has, that he's able to kind of swallow things up and teleport them as well. So I don't know if he could actually see, because he doesn't have eyes. I think it's just a sense or kind of just aware of things. That's interesting, but still stick with Oslo.
I guess he can't talk either, too, right? Whereas Hawk is a talking pig. I don't know, Sandy. What do you think? What's your opinion on this one?
Well, Dad, you don't have to ask me because my character is Hawk. I would totally be Hawk. My in-game little character, I like to be Hawk. He just looks so cute when I'm sitting at the table by myself. I definitely, I want Bond to call me Master. So, and I would eat all the scraps all day. Hey, free food. And Hawk's just amazing. I love him. A little clickety clack.
I love that you guys have chosen different responses to the first two. Let's see if we can keep that up. So the next one is first start with Sandy. Would you rather have 1,000 gems in the game or a 6/6 MK2 Valenti?
Say no more. I will take the 1,000 gems.
take your money and run, huh?
I'll take my money and it's like gambling. I'm gonna go pull on the collab banner with ReZero characters.
I don't know. It is a 6/6 Valenti though, Novage. Is that tempting?
It is tempting. I just feel that if you pulled like a 6/6 Valenti, that you're basically like committed to like get all her cosmetics, do an attack crit resistant year for her, roll them as max as possible. And, I think the 1,000 gems seem a little bit more enticing to me. I'd probably go for the gems, unfortunately.
That being said, if I went 1,000 gems deep on the banner and I got her 6/6, I would be pretty excited. So I guess it just depends which kind of way you look at it. Okay, let's go back to Novage. The next Would You Rather. We only have two more left here. Who would you rather see as the next festival unit? Wheelchair Gother or Purgatory Bon? Sandy already knows the answer. She's like, there's no debate here. I even know what Sandy's going to say. But Novage, what's your response here?
I actually would go with Bon. I've been hoping that festival unit comes at some point because don't see much use of him in the game. His characters, the early stages, there was the PvP, the green nunchuck Bon that, that era was interesting, but we kind of haven't seen a Bon that kind of is up there anymore.
How about you, Sandy?
Yeah, I love Purgatory Bon, but I would like to see Wheelchair Gother.
What?
Yeah.
I am shocked by your answer here.
But I think if that's the other festival unit that's coming, because what's his name? Spoiler. No, I shouldn't say it, huh? With Mael? No. Archangel?
Let's not spoil stuff. I think we established off camera before we started the show today that Sandy's the queen of spoilers. I mean, I spoiled something several episodes ago, which I guess was like a mild spoiler, but I feel like that's probably a big one. So let's not go there. Wheelchair Gother, doesn't get anyone's votes, eh? I guess I should have come up with a different option because Purgatory Bon is just so enticing. I know Wheelchair Gother is one that a lot of people thought was going to be dropped when Lolly Merlin actually got dropped. That was kind of, everyone was like, is it going to be Merlin? Is it going to be Wheelchair Gother? What's going to be? But yeah, I guess he's just not nearly as exciting of a unit as Purgatory Bon is. Final question. We'll go to Sandy for this one. Would you rather grind 100 Hell Demons in a row or 50 runs of Final Boss Escanor in a row?
I despise that man. I will do the 50 or 100 demons, because if you've got the right partner, you can just bang that out really quick. It'll take maybe an hour and 30 minutes, but Final Boss Escanor, I don't want to deal with him anymore.
I was trying to figure a good number to balance this out with 100 Hell Demons versus 50 runs of Final Boss Escanor. Wait, is there like a threshold though? Like maybe like 10 runs of Final Boss versus 100 Hell Demons? Like is it a 10-to-1 ratio? Like how bad do you hate Final Boss Escanor?
I hate him pretty bad. I don't want to see him.
Not even a single run, eh?
No, he's just too OP. I don't like that man. He can go away. Maintenance is happening. Good. Bye.
How about you, Novage? 100 Hell Demons or 50 runs of Escanor?
Do they have to be 50 complete runs? Like if you fail, it doesn't count? Because I would say that that's probably the frustration that, of those 50, I mean, I would say that, even farming, sometimes it's like, man, one of my units died, right? Because I wasn't paying attention or whatnot. So, I mean, that would probably be the deciding factor. Do you have to have 50 completed runs? Are
you looking for a loophole here? Is that what's happening? I don't know.
No, I would go with the demons, because I think in terms of speed, you could knock out those demons a lot quicker than an extreme run on Escanor.
Fair enough. And that concludes the Would You Rather segment. So again, if you liked it, if you didn't, if you'd rather see other stuff, just let us know. There's comments pretty much everywhere you listen or watch these things, so we'll make sure we see them. But that is the end of our episode. Thank you everybody for joining us at the Boar Hat Tavern, 7 Deadly Sins Grand Cross podcast. We stream this live on our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Boar Hat Tavern, every week on Monday nights at 9:30 p.m. Pacific time. Right around in-game maintenance. It's typically now it's half an hour before in-game maintenance because of daylight savings time. But yeah, we run usually into the in-game maintenance as well. Sandy, if you didn't know, which you probably do if you're watching this, does YouTube content. Sandy, where can people find your YouTube stuff if they're looking for it?
Yes, please. Join my little growing community. I'm super proud of it. YouTube.com/Sandy with a double Y 7DS.
If you'd like to get in touch with us, you can email us. Oh my gosh, I got a little frog in my throat. You can email us anytime at podcast@boarhattavern.com or follow us on Instagram or Twitter at Boar Hat Tavern. All three of us were members of the Global Guild Denied as part of the Scoundrels Alliance. If you'd like to join our ranks, you can reach out to us on Instagram, Twitter, send us email, even write in the comments. We'll get in touch with you and make sure we can get you the information to get into our community as well. You can also subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, or wherever you happen to find your podcasts online. You can also find our shows on our website at boarhattavern.com, and we are in the process of changing it. The ball is rolling. Sandy has started that process up, and we just need to fiddle with a few things. I suspect within a couple weeks we'll stop having to make this joke of having a horrible website, and it'll actually be half decent, or maybe just a little below average. Either way, better than it is now. We'd also like to thank Madeline Merwa for crafting our killer logo, Streetwise Rhapsody from YouTube for composing our awesome cover art of the Grand Cross theme song that we use for our intro, and Andre Bobe from ArtStation for letting us use his outstanding 3D renders of the Boar Hat Tavern for our pre-live and post-video splash screens. You can find all their work and the websites in the description. Thanks everybody for listening. Have a great week.
Bye.